Have you ever looked at a penny and thought it was nothing more than a single cent? Something so ordinary that it hardly deserves a second glance? That's what makes stories like this one so fascinating. Because hidden among the billions of pennies produced by the US Mint are rare treasures that could be worth more than you ever imagined. The 1983 1-cent penny error is one of those incredible discoveries. A coin that carries with it a unique history, an unusual flaw, and a collector's value that can leave your jaw on the floor. This isn't just about a tiny copper-colored coin. It's about how a simple mistake in production turned something mundane into something extraordinary. In fact, some of these 1983 penny errors have sold for prices ranging from $50,000 all the way up to $126,000. A fortune hidden in plain sight in the palm of your hand. To understand why this penny matters so much, we need to step back into the early 1980s. In 1982, the US Mint made a major change in the way pennies were produced. For decades, pennies were struck primarily from copper, but rising metal prices made that approach too costly. So in 1982, the mint switched to a copper-plated zinc composition, with a core of zinc covered by a thin copper layer. This new design allowed pennies to retain their classic copper look while drastically reducing the cost of production. But like any major transition, errors and anomalies crept into the minting process, and that's exactly what gave birth to the 1983 penny error. What makes the 1983 penny particularly intriguing is the variety of mistakes that appeared that year. One of the most famous is the double die error, where the coin's design appears to have been struck twice slightly out of alignment. If you look closely at the date, 1983, or at the inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust, you can see a ghost-like shadow, a doubling effect that proves this coin wasn't made like the others. To most people, this might look like just a worn-out penny, but to trained eyes, it's a telltale sign of one of the most valuable error pennies of the modern era. Another fascinating twist is that some 1983 pennies were struck on the wrong planchets, meaning the mint accidentally used leftover copper blanks from 1982 instead of the new zinc cores. That makes these coins much heavier than normal, 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for a copper-plated zinc penny. To a casual observer, they might feel just a little different, but to collectors, that weight difference is like a golden ticket. It signals a transition mistake, a rare survivor from a time when two different penny types were in production side by side. Imagine the thrill of picking up a penny, tossing it on a scale, and realizing that it weighs more than it should. Suddenly, that 1-cent piece in your hand could be worth as much as $50,000 to $126,000. That's the kind of discovery that makes headlines, the kind of find that turns casual coin hunters into passionate collectors overnight. And it's not just about the money. There's something deeply satisfying about uncovering a piece of history that was never meant to exist, something the mint tried to avoid but that fate allowed to slip through the cracks. Now think about the journey these error pennies have taken. Minted in 1983, many of them went straight into circulation, rattling around in pockets, purses, and piggy banks for years. They were used to buy candy, dropped into vending machines, and maybe even tossed into fountains as people made wishes. All the while, their true value went unnoticed. It wasn't until sharp-eyed collectors started examining pennies from that era that the truth came to light. Each discovery added to the excitement, fueling the hunt for more. And the more people looked, the more they realized just how rare these errors really are. The world of coin collecting thrives on rarity and uniqueness, and the 1983 penny error checks both boxes in dramatic fashion. The double die varieties and copper planchet errors are highly sought after not just for their scarcity, but for what they represent: a tangible connection to a moment of transition in American currency. When one of these coins comes up for auction, the competition is fierce. Collectors know they're bidding on more than just a piece of metal. They're bidding on history, rarity, and prestige. That's why the prices skyrocket, with final bids soaring from tens of thousands into six-figure territory. Picture yourself sitting in an auction house as one of these coins is brought to the stage. The auctioneer announces it's a 1983 penny error in pristine condition, one of only a handful known to exist. The bidding begins at $20,000, and hands immediately shoot up. The numbers climb higher and higher: 30,000, 50,000, 75,000, and the room buzzes with tension. Finally, the hammer falls at over $100,000, and the crowd bursts into applause. That's the kind of drama and excitement these little coins can inspire, proof that even the smallest denomination in our currency can command enormous respect when rarity comes into play. What makes this story even more thrilling is the possibility that one of these treasures could still be out there waiting to be found. Millions of pennies from 1983 are still in circulation or sitting quietly in jars, drawers, and piggy banks across America. Every time someone takes the time to look closely, they have a chance of discovering something extraordinary. Maybe it's a double die error with that unmistakable shadow effect on the lettering, or maybe it's a heavy copper penny that slipped through during the 1982 transition. Either way, the excitement lies in the hunt, in knowing that the next coin you examine could be the one worth $50,000 to $126,000. It's worth noting, too, that condition plays a huge role in the value of these error pennies. A coin that has been heavily circulated, showing scratches, dings, and wear, might still be valuable, but the top dollar figures are reserved for specimens in mint or near-mint condition. That's why collectors go to great lengths to preserve and protect their finds, using protective holders and cases to ensure their coins remain pristine for generations. After all, a coin that survived decades in nearly flawless condition isn't just a rare error. It's practically a miracle. The 1983 penny error reminds us of something important. Value is not always about face value. Sometimes the greatest worth comes from the story behind an object, the mistakes that make it unique, and the rarity that ensures only a select few will ever own it. It also shows us that treasures can be hiding in the most unexpected places, waiting for someone with a keen eye and a little curiosity to uncover them. So the next time you come across a penny, don't dismiss it as worthless pocket change. Hold it up to the light, look closely at the date, study the lettering, and if you have a scale, check the weight. You never know, your penny could be one of those legendary 1983 error coins. A tiny copper piece worth a staggering $50,000 to $126,000. Imagine telling your friends or family that a single coin you found in a coin jar paid for a car, a vacation, or even a down payment on a house. That's the kind of discovery that changes everything. And that's why stories like the 1983 penny error capture our imagination. They remind us that sometimes the smallest details make the biggest difference, and that even the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets. Hidden in plain sight, these coins keep us searching, hoping, and believing that one day, we might stumble upon a fortune disguised as a penny. The world of coins has always held a certain kind of magic. Something as small and ordinary as a penny, often brushed aside or left forgotten on the ground, can sometimes tell a story that stretches beyond imagination. Among these stories, there's one coin from modern American history that stands out, a coin that proves the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. We're talking about the 2005 1-cent penny error coin. To most people, it's just a single cent, not even worth bending down to pick up. But in the eyes of collectors and auction houses, this seemingly insignificant coin has been valued at anywhere from $40,000 to an astonishing $106,000. Just think about that for a moment. A coin you might toss into a jar without thinking twice could be worth more than a luxury car, more than a year's salary, or even the down payment on a home. The reason this little coin carries such an enormous value lies in the fascinating world of minting errors. Every year, millions upon millions of pennies are minted in the United States. Machines strike them quickly, precisely, and in massive quantities. Yet, no system is perfect, and when mistakes slip through, those mistakes create treasures. Error coins aren't just flaws. They're rare survivors of imperfection in a system designed for perfection. And that's why collectors chase them, why auctions drive their prices into the tens of thousands, and why an ordinary 2005 penny could suddenly become one of the most valuable pieces in someone's collection. What makes the 2005 penny so intriguing is that most people don't expect modern coins to hold much value. Older coins, sure, the kind minted decades or centuries ago, with silver or copper content that's no longer in use, those make sense as valuable collector's items. But a penny from 2005? That's only a couple of decades ago, still floating around in circulation, still being spent and exchanged every single day. Feels too new to be rare. And yet, it's precisely this disbelief that makes it such a fascinating case. When people underestimate a coin, they overlook it, and when they overlook it, opportunities for treasure remain hidden in plain sight. The 2005 penny comes with a design that most Americans instantly recognize. On the obverse is the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of American resilience and leadership. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stands strong, as it had since 1959 when it replaced the wheat design. At first glance, there's nothing extraordinary about it. Millions upon millions were minted that year. But errors change everything. Imagine looking closely at your coin and spotting an off-center strike where Lincoln's face is only partially visible. Or maybe the coin was struck on the wrong planchet, giving it an unusual weight or color. Some rare examples show doubling in the design, where letters or features look as if they've been printed twice. To an untrained eye, these errors might look like minor defects, but to collectors, they're golden tickets, signals that the coin is one of a kind. That's why auctions featuring 2005 penny errors draw so much attention. Collectors know these coins are not only rare but part of a fascinating era of U.S. coinage. Bidding wars have driven their prices sky high, with certain specimens fetching jaw-dropping figures between $40,000 and $106,000. Imagine the shock of someone who kept a penny in a drawer, thinking it was just another coin, only to discover later that it was worth more than a luxury SUV. That kind of surprise isn't just life-changing. It's the reason so many collectors continue searching through their change day after day, hoping lightning might strike twice. And this isn't just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery, the sense of history, and the idea that the most ordinary objects can hold extraordinary secrets. Every error coin carries a story. It's a story about the moment something went wrong at the mint, when machinery or timing caused a flaw that should never have happened. But instead of being caught and destroyed, that flawed coin escaped into circulation. It passed through countless hands, traveled across towns, maybe even across states, before someone sharp-eyed enough noticed it wasn't ordinary. That moment, when an ordinary penny suddenly becomes a priceless artifact, is the heartbeat of coin collecting. The 2005 penny errors stand as proof that modern coins are just as capable of surprising us as older ones. Many collectors had assumed that high-value errors were mostly found in earlier mintages, like the wheat pennies or silver dimes of decades past. But stories of these modern treasures keep surfacing. And every time one does, it reignites hope among collectors and ordinary people alike. After all, if a coin from as recent as 2005 can sell for $40,000 to $106,000, who's to say the pennies in your pocket don't hold the same kind of secret? For many people, pennies are disposable, barely worth thinking about. Some don't even bother to use them anymore. But for those who know, for those who understand the world of numismatics, every penny deserves a second look. The 2005 penny error reminds us that value isn't always obvious, and rarity often hides where we least expect it. The story of this coin is one of overlooked greatness, a perfect metaphor for how sometimes the smallest things can leave the biggest impact. Auction houses tell these stories again and again. A 2005 penny comes up for bidding, and no one expects much at first. But then, as the error is explained and the rarity sinks in, the numbers start climbing. First a few thousand, then tens of thousands, and finally into the six-figure range. Collectors battle for ownership, not just of a coin, but of a piece of history, a symbol of imperfection turned into perfection by its rarity. And when the gavel comes down and the final price is announced, jaws drop. A penny, worth just 1 cent on its face, has become a symbol of fortune. And here's where it gets truly exciting. These coins may still be out there, hidden in piggy banks, rolled up in jars, tucked away in old wallets, or rattling around in someone's pocket change. Many people don't know to look. They see a penny, they see copper, they see ordinary. But those who look closer, those who understand the potential, know that one small error could turn the most ordinary cent into a six-figure prize. How many more 2005 penny errors are still waiting to be found? That's the question that keeps people searching, keeps hope alive, and keeps the fascination burning. So, the next time you come across a 2005 penny, don't just toss it aside. Hold it up to the light. Look closely at the details. Examine Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, the memorial. Is something off? Does it feel unusual? Because that small moment of attention could be the difference between holding a coin worth 1 cent and holding a treasure worth $40,000 to $106,000. The story of the 2005 penny error is a reminder that treasure hunting doesn't always require shovels, maps, or ancient ruins. Sometimes it's as simple as paying attention to what's already in your hands. And sometimes, fortune hides in the smallest, most ordinary places, just waiting for someone sharp enough to notice. Imagine holding a simple 1-cent coin from 2016 in your hand, a coin that looks so ordinary that most people would never give it a second glance. It's the kind of coin you find at the bottom of your pocket, lying around in your car, or tucked away in an old jar somewhere in the kitchen. But what if I told you that a single 2016 1-cent penny, with a rare minting error, could be worth as much as $30,000 to $88,000? That's right, a coin that you might dismiss as loose change could instead be hiding a fortune. And the best part? These coins are still out there, sitting in circulation, waiting for someone like you to find them. The story of the 2016 penny error is one that grabs collectors and casual coin hunters alike, because it combines something so familiar with the possibility of life-changing value. Let's break it down. The 2016 penny was part of the Lincoln Cent series, featuring the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side. Designed by Victor David Brenner and first issued in 1909, this design has been a staple of American currency for over a century. On the reverse of the 2016 coin, you'll see the Union Shield design, introduced in 2010, which represents Lincoln's role in preserving the United States as one nation. But while the design itself may seem ordinary, the errors that occurred in certain 2016 pennies make them extraordinary. Minting errors happen for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes it's a misalignment of the dies, sometimes a double strike, sometimes the use of the wrong planchet. In the case of the 2016 penny, collectors have documented examples of off-center strikes, die cracks, and even double die obverse errors where the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" or "Liberty" appear slightly doubled. These are the kinds of small details that turn a coin from ordinary to valuable. What makes them even more exciting is that most people never notice them. They see the penny as just another coin, missing the tiny flaw that makes it worth thousands. Think about the idea of finding a 2016 penny with one of these errors. You drop your change on the counter at a gas station, and instead of just tossing it aside, you take a closer look. Maybe you see that Lincoln's image looks slightly doubled, or the lettering seems off. Maybe the coin looks misaligned. That moment of realization could mean you've just stumbled upon a coin worth anywhere from $30,000 to $88,000. That's not a dream or an exaggeration. It's the reality of the numismatic world, where rarity and condition drive incredible value. Collectors are fascinated by these error coins because they tell a story. Each one is unique, a little mistake frozen in time at the mint, something that slipped past quality control and entered circulation. When you hold one of these error pennies, you're holding a piece of minting history, something that wasn't supposed to exist but does, and that rarity is what drives up the price. Now, let's talk about the value range, $30,000 to $88,000. That's the kind of number that makes people's jaws drop, because it turns something trivial into something monumental. Imagine paying for a coffee with a coin that could cover an entire year of college tuition, or a coin that could be the down payment on a house, or even buy you a brand new car outright. That's the power of these rare 2016 era pennies. Auction houses have seen these coins spark bidding wars. Collectors who know how rare they are willing to pay top dollar to add them to their collections. And the thing is, prices aren't static. As time goes on and fewer of these coins are discovered in circulation, their rarity increases and so does their value. What might sell for $30,000 today could go for much higher in the future, especially if it's in pristine condition. Coins graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC often fetch the highest prices because their condition is verified and their error is certified. Here's where it gets really exciting for everyday people. Unlike some rare coins that were minted centuries ago, these 2016 pennies are modern. That means they're still out there, in pockets, cash registers, and coin jars. The possibility of finding one isn't just for hardcore collectors. It's for anyone who takes the time to look closely. That's why coin hunting has become such a popular hobby. People search through rolls of pennies from the bank or check their change after every purchase, hoping to spot the telltale signs of a mint error. Let's take a moment to picture the scene. You're sitting at your kitchen table, going through a roll of pennies you picked up at the bank for just 50 cents. You're not expecting much, maybe just a couple of shiny new coins and some worn old ones. But then one coin catches your eye. The lettering looks off or Lincoln's face seems doubled. You grab a magnifying glass and your heart races. Could this be it? Could you really be holding a 2016 penny worth up to $88,000? That moment of suspense, of possibility, is what keeps collectors searching. And the beauty of it is that you don't need to be an expert to start. All you need is curiosity and a careful eye. Start by looking closely at your pennies, especially those from 2016. Look for doubling in the letters, misalignments in the design, or cracks that don't belong. If something looks unusual, it might be worth investigating further. There are online communities and coin forums where you can share photos and get feedback from experienced collectors. You never know. You could be the next person to uncover one of these rare treasures. What makes the story of the 2016 penny even more powerful is the idea that value can hide in plain sight. We live in a world where so many people chase after the next big thing. Expensive gadgets, luxury items, flashy cars. But sometimes, real value is sitting right in front of us in the form of a coin that most people dismiss as worthless. It's a reminder to slow down, to pay attention to the little details, because sometimes those details can change your life. Think about the stories we've heard of people finding rare coins in their change. Someone buys a soda, gets a handful of coins back, and later discovers one of them is worth tens of thousands of dollars. These stories aren't urban legends. They're real, and they happen more often than you might think. And with the 2016 penny error, that possibility is alive and well today. So here's the big takeaway. The next time you see a penny from 2016, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look, because that coin could be worth anywhere from $30,000 to $88,000. Could be the hidden treasure you've been overlooking all along. And even if you don't find one right away, the search itself is thrilling. Every coin you check brings the possibility of discovery, and who knows, maybe your persistence will pay off in the biggest way. At the end of the day, the 2016 1-cent penny error teaches us something important. It's not just about money or collecting, it's about perspective. It's about realizing that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places, and that sometimes the smallest things can hold the biggest surprises. So keep your eyes open, check your change, and who knows, the next 2016 penny you find could change your life forever.